Well, they say no kings. How about no treasonous traitors? Letitia James, James Comey, John Bolton, we're talking to you. What do they all have in common, by the way? Well, sure, they're all under indictment for actual crimes committed, allegedly, wink. But a certain crime among them is they either engaged in politicized lawfare or they reveled in it, or in some cases, both. And they're now learning that when you break the law, you can't just cover it up by going after your political opponent because, oh yeah, that's right, no one is above the law, right, Letitia James? Barack Obama, clearly in a raging cloud of jealousy that he won a Nobel Peace Prize, didn't deserve, while President Trump has now actively deserved several Nobel Peace Prize several times over. Barry is clearly out on the Trump is an authoritarian train. Listen.
Yeah, we don't want kangaroo courts and trumped up charges. That's what happens in other places that we used to scold for doing that. We want like our court system and our Justice Department and our prosecutors to be, and our FBI to be just playing things straight and looking at the facts and not meddling in politics the way we've seen lately.
You know, it just pisses me off beyond that these guys, these politicians, can just sit there and act like this is their first thought of this. Because you know what? Sit down, Barry. You're one of the biggest and frankly the OG perpetrators of the Banana Republic lawfare that you just spoke of right there. Don't sit there and, cry about something now that the movement you started is now coming crashing down on you and all of your comrades. Let's be honest. The leftist lawfare is a large part of the reason why President Trump is sitting in the Oval Office for a second time. That resonated with Americans. If they can go after Trump for nothing, trumped up charges, as Obama just said, if they can go after Trump for nothing, then they can do the same thing to any single one of us. And actually, they did. Parents who raged against the grooming of their own kids were deemed domestic terrorists by Biden's FBI. Trump voters were investigated, doxxed, even debanked, and they went after everyone in Trump's inner circle too. No one was safe. And who are they? Well, every part of the leftist machine, that's who, from top to bottom. Hillary Clinton, Barack Hussein Obama, Joe Biden, congressional members, senators, the judges, AGs, even John Bolton. And their bidding was done by the mainstream media that they owned. Loudest ones, CNN, MSNBC, New York Times, Washington Post. We watched it with our own eyes. We heard it with our own ears. Maybe the indictments of James Comey and Letitia James and now John Bolton, well, it looks like this retribution time may be upon us, right? Well, who cares? But you see, those three actually did break the law. Let me take it one step further. Clearly, Trump derangement syndrome makes you lie, steal, and cheat. It makes you think that, in fact, you're above the law because breaking it is somehow justified in pursuit of a so-called, making sure a tyrant in Trump doesn't get back into office. Isn't that what they're calling it? Isn't that just a classic trope of the left? Rules for thee, not for me? Of course it is. Some might argue, like Gerard Baker does in this editorial, that the president's retribution lies in being a great leader and president. Fix America. That's our justice. Don't go after those who considered lawfare a blood sport. Just make America great again. That's how you get your revenge. Well, my answer to that is, Gerard, by the way, Wall Street Journal, both. Why not both? We deserve to know the truth. Americans watched in horror as these people like Letitia James, who made it her entire life and personality to take the president down or make sure he wasn't elected a second time, she was actually committing crimes of her own.
You should not be afraid, not be fearful of Donald Trump. We should take him down. We should sue him all the way to bankruptcy. We should investigate his business interests. We should investigate his business holdings. We should investigate whether or not why he was once in debt and now in a position to purchase all of this property. We can do that because I've been trained to do that, and I will do that at the same time knowing the Office of Attorney General and its powers and its responsibilities and its duties.
She forgot one thing. He didn't do anything wrong. They were making stuff up to do everything she tried to do to him, bankrupt. They just wanted to bankrupt him. Not because he did anything wrong, just because they wanted him out of the race. Sad indictment that someone can run an election for Attorney General of New York, getting Trump down and taking him down. That was her actual only position. I'm going to get Trump if you elect me. and it worked for her. Concocting a ridiculous case, which has essentially been dismissed if Trump weren't running for president again, none of this lawfare would have ever happened. And yet it did. And they wasted time and money when there are actual criminals taking down New York. Do you know how many people were killed in the subways while Letitia James and Alvin Bragg were worried about Donald Trump and how much Mar-a-Lago was worth? People were being killed in the subways in New York at the same time. But they had money and attention over here on Trump, ignoring all the deaths and destruction that New York was experiencing. These people are in charge of defending our justice system. They've abused that role. And by doing so, they destroyed America's trust. And you're telling me that doesn't deserve its own justice? Of course it does. Hillary Clinton spied on Donald Trump. Nothing happened. Barack Obama pushed the FBI to investigate President Trump over a fake Russia collusion story. Nothing happened. James Comey lied under oath. Nothing happened. John Bolton shared classified information and endangered this country's security. So far, nothing has happened. Letitia James is likely guilty of the very same thing she came after Trump for. But now they're holding rallies in her honor while she acts like she's some sort of face of some sort of resistance, like she's, I don't know, Martin Luther King Jr. the third or fourth.
We are here tonight because we are ready to turn the page on the cynical, broken politics of the past.
Put that fist down, lady. You were indicted for mortgage fraud, and you're now in the find out portion of the program. This is no longer about tit for tat. Sorry, not sorry. This is making sure that nothing like this ever happens again. This is about letting them know that while no one is above the law, well, guess what? Neither are you, Letitia James. Neither are you, James Comey, and the rest of you, John Bolton. Democrat, Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton. Democrats have played a very different game for a very long time. I don't think they have the capacity to actually learn any real lessons, as they've shown time and time again. But that's really not our problem. In fact, it's actually a big win for us. But it doesn't actually change the fact that Democrats must see, feel, and fear the pain that they inflicted when they are in power. They got to feel the same way. They should. Americans saw through the ridiculous lawfare, and now we want retribution. I do. I don't care if Trump says it's retribution or not. I think it should be. How do you teach someone not to do something again? You punish them for it. And clearly, Democrats don't learn. They've already said that they're going to do it again, back to Trump or back to whoever's in office. In his first term, President Trump seemed to forgive Hillary Clinton, despite how aggressively she tried to take him down without any truth, facts, or evidence. And what did they do? They launched lawfare on Trump, the likes of which we've never seen before. So forgive me if I say that maybe in his second term, it's time to take a different tack and give them a little taste of their own medicine. If that means they try to do it all over again, so be it. Well, that's just another nail in the coffin of that party for the next time around. But I am here for it. And I say, I think the Bible even says, an eye for an eye. Why not? We'll be back 2.5 minutes.